updated the mission list. We received a new job offer. It doesn't seem connected to Cypher or Skullface at all. But if it goes well, we may get an Afrikaans interpreter. The details are on your iDroid. That's African peach. The shape of its petals gives it the nickname the pincushion. It's used in local traditional medicine as a pain reliever and tranquilizer. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. Coming too. Roger that. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. He's coming too. Roger that. That's the target.
Dit is Delta 2. Geweer is goed. Delta 2, vast. Kom in Delta 2. CP, dit is Delta 4. Ons voorspoed. Die oorsprong onbekend. Hoor. Dat is CP, begrijp. Dat kan een vijandige aanval wees. Alieneren, wakker wees. Uit. Kom in, Delta 4. CP, Delta 9. Pas geweer 4. In positie vastgesteld. Moet ons voortgaan. Dat is CP, begrijp. Dit is wachtzaam. Weet ik van je tijd. Uit.
You gonna extract him? on board. Leave the rest to us. Roger that. You gotta extract him. He's coming too. Roger that. It's empty. You gotta extract him. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Оценка ситуации. Алиенерия. Стан Бэй.
Наверх! Вынести! Вынести! Эй!
He's coming too. Roger that. You gotta extract him.
Без парад.
get him! Talk. Huh?
Afrikaans is the lingua franca for mercs in this area. If you're going to get any information from interrogations, you'll need an interpreter. He's coming too. Roger that. On board. Leave the rest to us. He's coming too. Roger that.
Speak. Huh? Hold him off!
Extract him.
Help!
That's the target. Subject is in. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. He's coming too. Roger that. When you want to begin a mission, open your iDroid and select it from the mission list. I sent a list of selectable missions to your iDroid. They're all jobs that only you can handle. I don't care how you do it, but you've got to get us more manpower. If we're gonna get back at those bastards, our organization has to grow. Extract him. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. He's coming too. Roger that. You gotta extract him.
Hold him off!
He's coming too. Roger that. You gotta extract him. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. You gotta extract him. incoming too. Roger that. That's the target. Good. You captured it alive. Boss, I've updated the mission list. We've received a new job offer. It doesn't seem connected to Cypher or Skullface at all. But if it goes well, we may get an Afrikaans interpreter. The details are on your iDroid.
Welcome back, boss. Where are your friends?
Roger.
This is B-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ. This is B-Quad. On station at LZ. Gaining altitude.
Boss, that man you picked up in Walla Yamasa is a top-notch gunsmith. We got plenty of work for him. But it turns out that he's just the apprentice of a so-called legendary gunsmith. Now, if this legendary gunsmith is all he's cracked up to be, we could really use him on our side. The apprentice gave us the whereabouts of his master. If you've got the time, go and grab him. I've added the details to your side ops list.
Struggle going on within the... There's a violent power struggle going on within the contract forces of Africa, the PF that ran security for the Muthinda oil field. Most of their key people are Afrikaners, but naturally for a South African organization, some of its founders are British. Details are sketchy, but apparently the Afrikaners are holding these British personnel for interrogation near Kaziba camp. We've been asked to rescue one of them, a man known as the Viscount. We don't have the Viscount's exact location, but he doesn't speak the Afrikaners' language, Afrikaans. They'll need an interpreter who speaks English in order to interrogate him. Meaning if we tail the interpreter, he'll lead us right to the target. By the way, the contract specifies that it's all right to ignore the other British prisoners. But the final decision is yours, boss.
high-level British CFA officials are being held by their Afrikaner colleagues. One of these prisoners is the rescue target, a guy known as the Viscount. The target's location is unknown. They're bound to have an interpreter present when they interrogate him. We've used info from the intel unit to predict the interpreter's location. It's on your iDroid. Follow the interpreter and extract the target when you find him. Be careful not to draw the enemy's attention. Found the interpreter. Now follow him to the target. That's not the target. Orders are only the Viscount gets rescued. Can't understand why he'd receive special treatment, but I don't imagine it'll be a problem to save the other prisoners too. CFA are all business. Hard to believe they're interrogating their own. The situation must be worse than we thought. Make a wrong move, and they could kill the target without warning. Afrikaans is the lingua franca for mercs in that area. If you're going to get any information from interrogations, you'll need an interpreter. But don't extract the interpreter just yet. If he doesn't turn up, they won't be able to do the interrogation. If they then decide the target's no longer any use to them, they won't hesitate to kill him. Prisoner you extracted wasn't the target, but we did get some information. Seems the prisoners aren't held together, and the cells and interrogation rooms are separate places.
Moenie move. Alsjeblieft. Moenie te doen. Hey! Draai maar hierop! Contact! Moenie. Ja, alsjeblieft. Moenie te doen.
Alles gets better. Dat zit hier. Wat voor het aanval? Alleen
Boss, with that panic going on, they could decide to kill the target. Hurry.
Stop us.
What are you doing? If the interpreter doesn't show up, they won't be able to interrogate anyone. Then they'll just kill the target. Boss. We'll just have to interrogate him to find out what the target is.
Dat zit weer begrijp. Anders alleen heren. Alleen alle beschikbare mannen vast. Ruststellen. Herhaal. Stuur versterker. Zo, uit.
Boss, we got the interrogation location out of the interpreter. He also said it will begin at night. Now be smart. That prisoner wasn't the target either. We got some more information though. They're going to interrogate the target at night.
Die area. Maar blijf op je hoede. Uit.
Hold them off!
Our rescue target was behind some kind of plot. Boss, I did some digging, and it seems the target himself gave us this mission through a representative. Obviously, he couldn't contact us directly due to his predicament, but still, something about this Viscount doesn't add up.
HK, de CP. Ons het die fans ingetrek, maar contact verloor na kruisvuur. Vijand kan nog iewers naby wegkruip. Adviseer vaksaamheid. Hoor. Alle eenheden, staan bij. Zoligen, dit is Siepje. Wat heeft instructie op die prisonier? Maak me slaaf van die prisonier zoals per handleiding. Herhaal, maak me slaaf van die prisonier. Oor.
If you run into trouble, give us a call. We may be able to offer some advice.
Siepje, Zulu 10. Was het onbekend? Zulu 10, was verkeerd. Kom maar Zulu 10. Siepje, dat is Delta 1. Was het... Delta 1, was goed. Kom in, Delta 1. Siepje, dat is Zulu 10. Was het onbekende wapenvuur? Positie onbekend. Oor. Dat is CP, begrijp. Alle eenheden, hou wacht en vind enige indringers. Uit. CP, het is Delta 2. We zijn prisonier gevind en beveiligd. Laat ons voortgaan. Oor. Dat is CP, begrijp. Staan vast. En wacht voor verdere bevelen. Uit. CP, het is Delta 2. Staan bij voor de gevangenen. In de grondkant. Oor. Delta 2, dat is CP. We monitoren op uw ogenblik. Hou net vast. Uit. Delta 2, dat is CP. Wat heeft instructie op die prisonier? Maak me slaaf van die prisonier zoals per handleiding. Herhaal, maak me slaaf van die prisonier. Oor. Delta 2, 10-4. Maak me slaaf van die prisonier. Zoals per instructie. Oor.
Boss, one of the prisoners has been killed. We don't know if it was a target or not. Hurry up.
CP, dit is Delta 3. Ons het reeds die gebied besmeed. Ons kon iemand vind nie. Oor. Dit is CP, begrijp. Wees paraat. Uit.
entertainment locations. Their anti-air radar? It wasn't one of the targets, but that's put a hole in their air surveillance. The chopper will be able to get in close now. You can designate a landing zone near the outpost.
Hallo skaders, dit is hier. Stel ons net afgegaan. Lyk soos 'n probleem met die kragbron. Die ook al die naaste is gaan kyk na die kragstelsel.
Extraction confirmed. Get yourself out of the hot zone. By chopper or by land. It's your choice. complete, boss. Maybe you'll actually break a sweat. Boss, one of the other British prisoners filled us in about the Viscount. It turns out he's a real two-faced son of a bitch. He was planning to secure the MPLA's oil field rights for himself in exchange for swapping the CFA's alliance from the anti-government United rebels to the state-backed MPLA. He hid this from the Afrikaners, but once he thought the jig was up, he tried to pin it on the other British personnel and take off. The Afrikaners captured him, and that was when he asked us to rescue him, and only him. I'll throw him in the brig for now, but we may have to be extra persuasive with this one. By the way, boss, we got some interesting news out of our friend the Viscount. He mentioned that more than a few PFs in the region have purchased walker gears. The CFA's the same. That's Soviet Army technology, and it's still a prototype. Only Cypher could be leaking it to the PFs. But the question is, why?
Good. You captured it alive.
Boss, one of the latest missions to come in is connected to the walker gears. This could be our chance to close in on Cypher. Take a look at your mission list. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. Roger.
Arriving shortly at LZ. This is P-Quad. On station at LZ.
Boss, I need to talk to you about this. Quiet. Can you meet me at her cell here on the base? Whenever's fine. Thanks.
You called that thing Sahelanthropus. Where does the name come from?
Well, several years ago, an excavation team discovered a hominid skull in the Sahel region.
Central Africa. The Southern Sahara.
Cypher gave the specimen the name Sahelanthropus, Man of Sahel. And then they covered the whole thing up.
Why?
They probably wanted to monopolize information about human evolution to have a head start in their genetic research. At least, until they had an idea of what they'd found.
It was that big of a discovery, huh?
Sahelanthropus was a gracile hominid, estimated to have lived about 7 million years ago. What's significant about it is how its skull's foramen magnum faces down. In other words, its spinal column supported its head from underneath.
It stood upright.
Right. Which would mean Sahelanthropus walked upright 3 million years before Australopithecus, making it the world's oldest human species.
Walking upright. I get it. Hence the name Sahelanthropus for your machine.
Walking upright was the decisive difference between our ancestors and other anthropoids. Our brains could get heavier once they were supported by the spinal column. That led to the use of tools and the development of complex communication through language. Only man is capable of this. My creation will be the progenitor of all bipedal weapon platforms.
And you did this for Cypher?
No, not at all. Sahelanthropus is the best proof that I never betrayed you guys.
What do you mean?
The reconstructed Sahelanthropus skull looked exactly like the skull we used as our logo 9 years ago in the Caribbean.
An army without a nation. Outside the world order.
The design was based on Pangea, the supercontinent that existed 250 million years ago, right?
Yeah. When the world was a single landmass, that concept's at the source of our strength.
I felt the same way about Sahelanthropus. Sure, I was forced to build it under their orders, but I always wanted to put its technology back in our hands someday. That's the reason I incorporated the old insignia into Sahelanthropus's name. Don't you see? That's how much I was thinking about you guys.
Oh, I see, all right. I see someone desperate to cover his ass. You can say whatever you want after the fact. But that skull also symbolizes somebody else. Skullface.
Snake, you finally came. Just don't record this, okay?
Not recording anything. What's this about?
What I'm about to say stays between you and me. It's about the weapon to surpass Metal Gear. You know a researcher by the name of Clark? He works in the biotech industry, real advanced stuff. His area is bioengineering, but lately he's also gotten into genetic research.
Never heard of him.
Well then, what do you know about cloning?
I think I've heard enough.
Hold on, this is important. Cloning lets you create a genetic copy of an organism. You take the nucleus of one of its cells, and you swap it with the nucleus of an unfertilized egg from another member of the same species. They started out working with plants, but since then they've had success with other organisms, including mammals. It's a hot area for a lot of places right now. Corporations, universities, research groups. There's no shortage of scientists out to get famous and patent their work, with morality taking a back seat.
Isn't that a little outside your field?
It's got nothing to do with my research. But I thought it might be of interest to you. Cloning, and Dr. Clark, I mean.
Go on.
Now, this is really highly classified stuff, but I've heard that an American biotech company has successfully cloned a human being. What's more, it happened over 10 years ago, and the researcher behind it was Dr. Clark. You've really never heard of him?
I don't meet many doctors.
This Dr. Clark is a complete ghost, even to others in his field. His age, where he comes from, that might not be his real name. And I can't even say for sure he's a he. Clark's employer, ATGC, its company motto is embracing your hopes, preserving talent.
What does this have to do with me?
Cypher. Dr. Clark works for ATGC, and they have connections to DARPA. Cypher couldn't function without the communications network DARPA's built. Meaning, Cypher has to be a part of the Pentagon. Or at least, the two are joined at the hip. DARPA is a driving force behind human cloning. It's a pretty high priority project for them. And this Dr. Clark, some say he's a pivotal player in Cypher. But that's not all. Every cell nucleus in an organism contains the genetic information for that organism. Think of it as a blueprint for life. Clark appears to be working on how to decode this information and rearrange it at will. If you could do that, it would mean being able to custom design human beings for specific purposes. Can you believe that? Suppose for a moment that this is all fact. A man of your talents, if your genetic information died with you, that would be a terrible loss for mankind. But what if mankind could preserve you for future generations by cloning you?
All right, enough. I get the idea.
Look, I know it's inductive reasoning, but this weapon to surpass Metal Gear they're developing in Africa, I believe it's something that uses this new technology. Speaking as a fellow scientist, it chills me to the bone.
That's rich coming from you.
If genes serve as our blueprint, then I wonder if they include an impulse that drives us to tweak the design. Can you imagine that? Genes, encoded with information that wants its children to decode it. Is life itself putting the direction of our next evolution in the hands of scientists? I guess it would take some real arrogance to believe that. And yet, it could be what Cypher's after.
I think you're barking up the wrong tree. But that was an interesting story. It'd make a good movie.
You have to believe me.
Where'd you hear all this anyway?
Where? I just overheard it in bits and pieces while I was forced to do that research for them.
Right.
Wait a minute. Look, I want to help you. I want to be of service here. I'm risking my life with this.
Is that so? Maybe it's time we brought someone else into the conversation.
No, not him. Not Ocelot. You can't do this.
Hard to believe how many of those bipedal weapons have popped up around Africa. When did that start?
No more than 6 months ago. Didn't really hit me until I came here.
They're not supposed to be in use yet. Emmerich says they were still doing the last round of fine-tuning.
The doctor has no idea. His research has already hit the black market. Both sides of the Iron Curtain will have it by now. Even so, they're spreading much too fast. Sure, the Walker gears can operate in any terrain. Their mobility's just as good in the jungle as it is in the desert. That would come in handy in a place like Africa. They are modules that can one day be used as nuclear weapon systems. And with that in mind, the numbers are way too large. There must be another reason they're so widespread.
Like what?
It's all about needs. To small-time outfits like most of these private forces, this product is a dream come true. Hell, it goes beyond PFs. This is the ultimate weapon, the forbidden fruit, for anyone with an enemy to fight and people to defend.
A nuclear deterrent.
Exactly. Sounds familiar, huh? PFs are all operating off your playbook. You created these times. But could this be the new weapon in Africa that Emmerich talked about? If it is, why is Cypher letting everyone and his brother get their hands on one? What comes next? Selling nuclear weapons in the open? Making them public property?
Why don't they give that a try? Then the next war really will be fought with sticks.
Right. The man we're dealing with isn't foolish enough to make a suicide pact with the world.
So, what is Cypher really up to?
Welcome back, boss. He, refuses to wear clothes. The last staff member who tried to dress her, breathing through tubes. Other than that, she's completely cooperative. She understands English. She never speaks, sweats, or breathes.
What?
Well, not with lungs, at least. She breathes through her skin. Clothing would suffocate her. Showers are okay. She can't be submerged.
What's wrong with her?
She's drinking. Her skin.
She's okay?
She's okay. She just can't move when she's taking in water. Look. See that? She hasn't eaten a thing since she got here.
She doesn't eat either?
Never. It's photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. That's the verdict from the medical staff.
No, the jury's still out. It's the only explanation for what we've seen. The GRU had a man with that ability in its Cobra unit. Now, we don't think she's contagious. Some of the staff can't stomach her. It's starting to affect morale.
Can't you send her on a mission?
By herself? No. But as you know, she does have skill. Why not take her out on one of your missions? She seems to like you. Of course, only if you think she'll be useful. Next time you go out, you keep her in mind.
That won't work on me. I've had drug resistance training.
Thanks for that, boss.
Roger.